lot about people starting over and second chances and that type of thing. And one of the reasons is because, like so many of us, billions of people, I guess, that are on Facebook all over the world, we get a chance now to look into each other's lives, and we're able to see the different things that people are going through. And Facebook is, people say negative things, positive things about it, all different types of things. But the reality is, it's just on how you use it. And some people have used it in a way that just helps us to know them better. Hopefully, the posts that we have made help you to laugh, encourage you, inspire you in the course of your day. And what we want to do today is we really want to talk about some of the things that we've seen and some of the things that we've experienced in terms of people having to start all over again, having a second chance at doing life all over again. It's like having a second cup of coffee.
Yes, and I love my coffee in the morning, as you know. Life can get messy, just like in the morning I love to pour myself my first cup of coffee. And the worst thing that can happen to me is, those mornings when everything's going wrong?
Yeah.
And I spill my cup, and it's like, where do I start cleaning up this mess? It's just a mess all over the kitchen counter. Where do I start? But the good news is, there always is a place to start. You just have to clean it up, and I can always make a second cup.
Yeah.
And God gives us second chances like that as well at life. Life can get very, very messy. And many people will find that they have to start over. And the Bible doesn't say life will be perfect. Mm-hmm. It does say we will have tribulation in this world, Christians or not. And we're not immune, just because we're Christians, we're not immune to the problems of this world. People are going to walk through all kinds of things, the same as people who don't know God walk through them. We're going to walk through a lot of the same things. Mm-hmm. But it's not what we walk through, because God says we will walk through things, but it's how we walk through it. And we have the Lord that helps us be overcomers.
And, it's interesting because we've, just like everyone else, we've gone through our own life situations that some of them you feel like you'll never recover. You feel like you'll never get back on your feet again, but you will. You will get back on your feet. I think of a dear pastor friend of mine who his wife had cancer, and the cancer after a few years had gone away, and then it came back again with a vengeance. And the church prayed and the people prayed, and she was even getting better again. They declared that she will live and not die, and she ended up going home to be with the Lord. Now, for Christians, we still have to believe that this is not our home, that there's a better place. But as human, as people in flesh, we still hurt. So now here's a pastor who's been married for 40 years, and he's going to have to start life all over again. And when I think of people, I look at people who are losing weight. I'm working on it myself. But there are people who have been heavy at one time. They live with the mindset of a heavy person. And what is the mindset of a heavy person? Ask a heavy person, they'll tell you. We won't talk about that today. But they live the mindset, and then they end up losing weight. And now it's a different type of thing. There's a different type of attention. There's a different level of confidence or lack of confidence. They still feel like a heavy person in a thin person's body. So now they're starting all over again. There are people who have lost their jobs. There are people that have lost relationships. I mean, life will fracture you. There are so many things in life that will cause people to have to start all over again. And the Bible says it himself that even a righteous man will fall, but he has to keep getting back up again.
And God hates those things. God hates poverty. God hates cancer. God hates divorce. God hates so many things. He hates depression. He hates all these things. But we still have to walk through some of these things. Sometimes we will get that supernatural miracle. I've had many supernatural miracles myself where God just comes through in an instant and everything changes. But then there's been other times where I've had to walk through the valley, and God has walked me every step through a deep, dark valley. But the good news is he's walked me through it. Right. I didn't stay there.
That's right.
And I was able to walk through and come out on the other side. And so many times we don't know what other people are going through. We look at their life from the outside and we think, oh, on Facebook, or we see them at church and they're wearing their happy face and everything looks wonderful. But people do not realize what another person is going through. I think of one time in my own life when I was doing all these things on the mission field to help build poor people homes and schools and orphanage and churches and feeding thousands and thousands of people. But other than my very, very close friends, nobody knew that at that time when I was building homes for other people, I myself was starting over. I was living in a little tiny one-bedroom apartment. I had no table, no chairs. All I had was a bed and 2 dressers. I was shopping at secondhand stores, which I still don't mind. But my clothes, I'd go and buy a dress for $3 or $4, and which is awesome. I still love going to secondhand stores. But the point is, I had no curtains on my windows. But when I went outside the door, nobody knew I was going through that. Only my close friends and family. And it's easy to look at other people and think their life is so together, but we really don't know the brokenness. But God is close to the brokenhearted. He loves us, and He gives us second chances in life and third chances.
He does. And I look at my life. Many people didn't know, and this is probably the first time that they're hearing this, is that I spent so much of my life depressed. But I was a functional depressed person, and I'd sing and do concerts, but I was depressed. I was codependent. I loved God. And see, it's a terrible thing. It's incorrect to think that just because you're a Christian that you don't have battles in your life. Even Elijah, after he had that incredible encounter with the prophets of Baal and God rained down fire from heaven, he ran depressed into a cave. But guess what? Even while he was depressed running to the cave, God was with him. So depression and brokenness and all those things doesn't mean that God has abandoned us. God is with us in the midst of our worst storm. So today you may be watching today, and you may be facing the biggest trial of your life. You may have not felt like getting out of bed. You may have felt like not facing the world. But we have come to tell you today that you can break out of that jail that you're in, that physical jail, that emotional jail, that spiritual jail. And go ahead, baby.
And God gives grace. Grace is for you. A lot of people live in their regret. They live in their past mistakes because they either can't forgive themselves and give themselves grace, or they keep hearing what others are saying about them and other people hold them in that prison. But grace is for everyone. Now, grace is not to be abused. We can't abuse it.
Right, that's
Same
right.
as I love you, but I don't want to do anything to hurt you.
Yeah.
You give me grace, but I don't want to abuse that.
Yeah.
And we love God,
and
we don't want to abuse His grace, but the grace is there when you need it. When you really need it, the Lord gives you grace, and you've got to get out of your living in regret. Just let the past go and forgive yourself and take the next step to move on.
And forgive others. I mean, there are people that may have wronged you. Forgiving doesn't mean that you give someone a free ticket to ride for the rest of their life and they can continue to hurt other people. Forgiving others means that you're letting the poison out of your system that would hinder you from moving forward. So in the next episode, we're just going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to break out of jail.
Right.
We're going to talk about how to break out of that financial, that emotional, that spiritual jail. Things that we have learned and we're still learning. We are not the masters. Only God is the master. And we are leaning and trusting in Him as you are as well. But maybe there's some things that we can share that God has used and is using to help us to continue to move forward in life. And stay tuned for the next episode, and we'll see you soon for a second cup of coffee. We want to thank all of you for your comments, your likes, and your messages on Facebook, and for all of your emails that tell us you've been blessed by our ministry. It really means so much to us. We pray that you will continue to find hope and inspiration and encouragement through the various methods that God gives us to reach out around the world.
If you drink coffee, tea, or hot chocolate, or know someone who does, please stop by alvinandjoycoffee.com for more information and see a line of our delicious, healthy beverages. With every box of coffee, tea, or hot chocolate you purchase, You are partnering with us in ministry to bring hope and healing, reminding people that there is no pit so deep that God's love is not deeper still.
So please help us today. If you will, go to alvinandjoycoffee.com. And our prayer for you is that this will be a season of open doors, fulfilled dreams, and miracles for you.
Change your coffee, change a life.